people were evicted from the Mau Forest. But just before we get a hold of him, let's continue having this discussion with Benson Oching, who's an environmental governance expert, and the Honorable Hilary Kosgei, who's Member of Parliament for Kipkelion. And Honorable Kosgei, let's bring in the aspect of, so far we've not seen President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy talk about this second phase of eviction, owing to the fact that back in 2009, ODM leader Raila Odinga was very vocal about, evicting people from Mau Forest, brought a lot of political debate. 2013, 2017, we saw President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy talk about it. But now, during this second phase of eviction, we've not heard from the two leaders.
Yeah, that's why we are calling on him. Personally, I am calling on him to take charge of this issue. All we are saying, we want to get it right once and for all. We don't want this every election cycle. We have to deal with the issue of Mau. We are saying, let dialogue, let consultation take center stage. And we are asking the president, I'm appealing to him to look at the children who are affected in phase one and to ask himself, first of all, before even we go to the phase two, there was a phase one eviction. We have not been given, the program of how it was restored, whether people were just evicted and the land was left bare. Because as a member who sits in the Environment Committee, we have not approved any budget to the issue of the Mau. And therefore, when you evict people without a plan, you get it wrong. We are saying Tobacco should first come and share with Kenyans the successes of the first eviction.
All right.
Did they secure the catchment areas? Have they planted trees? What have they done?
Right.
So that it gives credence and credibility to the second phase. And all we are asking is that we want dialogue as leaders from across the divide.
All right, let's bring in Narok Senator Oledama, who's now joining us via way of phone, just to tell us about this whole planned Mau eviction. He's been very vocal about it, supporting the government's move. And Honorable Olekina, I don't know what you have to say about, claims that yesterday people who were said to have genuinely, decided to move out of Mau Forest, it was a planned, sort of like a planned exercise.
Brenda, thank you very much for your call. One of the funny thing is that anytime a government attempts to carry out its functions, if it doesn't favor you, you end up saying this is a plot or a decoy. I mean, that's really, that kind of argument is something which is long gone and forgotten. People using Mao to gain, political popularity, that is old news, as I can tell you that. The issue that we are focusing on now is that we, the Maasai leadership, have asked all the Maasais who have encroached into the forest to get out of the forest. Because we, the people of Narok, the Maasai of Narok, are the ones who set aside that piece of land because we discovered that it was the source of many rivers. It is the one which is feeding us. And you cannot cut the hand that is feeding you. And I'm surprised, I was listening to the member who is talking there, and I was surprised to hear when he said that he sits in the environmental committee and that he has not approved any budget. It is not us, members of parliament, who approve budgets for the executive. We appropriate funds, and the executive decides what activities to carry out. It will be nonsensical and defeating if we are micromanaging which project should be done. The issue here is that this issue of Mau Forest has been a long cancer that has been ailing this nation. The rivers have dried up. People have died because of starvation. This country every year is littered with carcasses of dead animals. So it's about time that we say, thank you, Lord, that there is a government that has decided to fight corruption in all aspects.
But
So
Oledama,
it will be wrong for us as leaders to lie to the public that the people who have decided to voluntarily move out is like people who are planted there so that other people can move out.
Some of this, actually, let me not say some, but these residents who are actually residing in these 5 ranches that have been mentioned by the government, they're saying that they have genuine title deeds and that these are trust lands.
Let me put it this way. We, the people of Narok, one of my pet peeves is when you find busybodies, people who are coming from other constituencies, other counties, coming to try and become the the experts in matters, local matters that deals with Narok County. Narok County, we have spoken about this time and time again. The number of group ranches were only 5 group ranches. Those group ranches had their boundaries, which were very, very clear, which had not encroached into the forest. But because of some scrupulous individuals who worked in the Ministry of Lands, who are also part of the membership of the group ranches, they decided to extend those group ranches illegally, and you cannot. You know, in Maasai, we have a saying that says, "Kepot emonko inkishubo nita yesepata," which means you can use all the lives and you acquire so much wealth, but one day the truth will make you bankrupted. So what is happening today is this. Those group ranches, the people who are claiming that they have titles. I have been in the news, have been in barazas asking them to please bring those titles. Yesterday, Aaron Cheriot was arguing that there are allotment letters. You know, we are not stupid. You cannot allot land. You issue a title. And if you are a group member of a group ranch, when the one title deed is subdivided, you get your portion. You don't even get an allotment letter. The only allotment letter that I know in the history of this republic is when the government or the town councils allocate you a plot before a leasehold, not a title deed. Before a leasehold is issued, you are given an allotment. But in terms of a freehold land, there's no allotment.
All right. So, Mheshimiwa, fate of 10,000 students are going to be affected. And remember that this eviction comes at a time when some of these 10,000 students will be sitting for the national examinations, owing to the fact of what the Rift Valley Regional Coordinator, George Natembea, said that some time back the government had allocated 4 million shillings to each 15 schools surrounding the Masai Mau forest.
Now, let me put it this way. You know, in this country, we have 50 million plus. If getting rid of, if moving 10,000 people out so that the 50 million people can be able to survive, I would put a tick on that. What is happening now is that people go and get into an area. Their activities affect the ecosystem of that area. You cannot try to justify their existence there, yet other people are suffering because of numbers. If you say there are 10,000 students, you know what, in history, millions and millions of people have moved out in certain areas so that other millions of people can be able to survive. We don't have water in Bomet. We don't have water in Kericho. We don't have water in Narok. When the drought comes, it is not only the Maasai people who suffer. Even those people who live in Kericho suffer. This year, the number of tea plantations that dried out, caused a lot of, losses to those big farms.
All right, and
so
lastly, Mheshimiwa...
really, it is not about these 10,000 people. And to respond to your issue of Natembea has been doing a fantastic job. And yesterday I explained clearly the process where the schools are set up. These are political moves and the Ministry of Education. And most schools in this country are set up by communities before the government takes over.
All right, and lastly, Mheshimiwa, just allow me to cut you short. I mean, the issue of Mau dates back to years and years. Let's talk about 2009. Honorable Raila Odinga, who's the ODM leader and AU Special Envoy, also tried to have people evicted from Mau Forest, brought a lot of political, debate. 2013, 2017, it was used as a campaigning, as a campaign interest for several political leaders. And again, we're back to the Mau Forest discussion this year. We're in 2019. Why do you think it's been very hard for the government to settle this issue of the Mau Forest once and for all?
Very simple. Political interest. Mau Forest has been known to end people's careers. Raila Amolo Odinga did not become president of this country because he defended Mau. Now, this is what we are saying ourselves as a new generation. I, as a senator of Narok County, I don't give a hoot in hell whether I become a senator again, so long as I fight to conserve the environment. What we need to do is to support this government, which has now gone beyond personal interest to the interest of this nation. The reason why the other previous governments did not succeed is because people were still grouping themselves into political cocoons and they wanted political survival. We don't care. I don't care about political survival. If by me fighting for the Mau forest will mean the end of my political career, so be it. We need bold leaders who will be ready to say, I don't give a hoot in hell about politics. I care about the environment because cancer is killing us. We've polluted our environment. We've destroyed our ecosystems. Hippos are dying. It is sad for people who are benefiting from money which is gained from tourism when they cannot even protect the wild animals. You know, people are suffering even in Tanzania. People are suffering all over the world. It is about time that we say our own personal interests should be shelved and we care about the interests of this world.
All right, thank you so much, Senator Narok, Senator Ledama Olekina, for talking to us about the Mau forest. And, you know, you've had him talk and strongly, with very strong sentiments, you know, and he says once and for all, we need to bring an end to this issue of the Mau eviction. And just let me just have, Mr. Benson respond first to the sentiments of the senator, then I'll have you.
I think the senator has spoken in his characteristic style clearly, very forcefully, about one point, eviction for the sake of environment. I would add he needs to look at the other aspect, the human rights angle to the question of Mau. Of course, he has emphasized the important issue of local, global, and international importance of the Mau. Mm-hmm. But then there is also this aspect of human rights violations of the people who are there. A lot of them who are innocent parties. Some of the owners of the land are who we can call innocent purchaser without notice. Mm-hmm. And the law protects all these people. Kenya is party to the International Covenant on Civil and People's Rights. Our own Article 2, 5, and 6 commit that international laws to which Kenya is a party are part of Kenyan law. Mm-hmm. The Bill of Rights in our Constitution protects social and economic rights of individuals. And really, it is heartrending to see people's houses burnt and to imagine that 10,000 people or pupils are not going to sit exams or are going to be adversely affected because of what is going on in the Mau. The truth of the matter is, as important and as urgent it is, it didn't start yesterday. As important as it is, some of the very important people in this country have used Mau for political reasons. And when we are talking about what needs to be done, we must also put these people to account. Because in 2013 and in 2017, they issued title deeds at the highest level or political office in the land. And the people who are now giving orders at the ministerial level presumably are acting at the behest of the government of the day. So it is one government doing totally diametrically opposed things on the same issue. This is where we need to call them out and tell them, please, just do the right thing. This is not about politics. And so as much as we need to address the environmental aspects of this and the important local, national, and international aspects of the issue, we also must abide the law. And there are only 5 criteria upon which we need to evict people. When you are conducting evictions, please do not violate human rights, because 2 wrongs don't make a right. 2, ensure that the process is followed. It must be done according to procedure and according to law. Please ensure that it is being done for the greater public good. And definitely, this is a case where we are saying there is a greater public good in ensuring. 4, do not violate the human, do not make vulnerable people more vulnerable, or do not put them in a condition that they will be more vulnerable when the evictions are done. So as we are talking these issues, the bottom line is that leadership needs to sit down. Right. They are talking at each other right now. They are all doing political calculations.
So they need to talk with each other.
Yes, they need to talk with each other. and they need to look at the bigger good of the nation.
Okay, Honorable Kosgei.
Yeah, thank you very much. If we had sober people like our lawyer here, this problem would get a real solution. Let me begin by what my colleague Olekina started with. He said, and I want to forgive him because he's a senator, he's not involved in the budget making process because it is the function of the National Assembly. When we appropriate funds with vote heads. We don't just throw money to ministries. We appropriate funds with vote heads. Like, for example, we have what we call Imarisha Lake Naivasha, which has a vote head to reclaim Lake Naivasha, and we allocate money, we appropriate money there. The Nairobi Regeneration Program, we appropriate money. I was saying there was no appropriation in our committee in respect to the MAU. And he's missing it, but I'm forgiving him because he's a senator. He doesn't sit in the National Assembly. Having said that, the second point that my colleague is missing, he thinks the MAU, just because you call it Maasai Mau, belongs to the Maasai. That is where we lose the argument. This is a property of the people of Kenya, and it is shared by the citizens of the world. And the protection and conservation of this must be the duty of all. And nobody should be pretend to be more important than the other in this argument. And that is why we are saying the moment we sit down and we are able to map out areas of where springs begin, catchment areas. And then we agree as leaders. We will talk to the people. We will tell them up to here, we will be killing our future generations. But we don't want also...
Honorable Kosgei, sorry to cut you short. You're saying that you need to have a conversation with people, tell them from up to here is where the forest ends, then from here is where the forest doesn't end.
Yes.
Don't you think that you'll still be encouraging people to live still within the 5 ranches, which the government says you need to move out so that we conserve the entire...
No. The contest here is not moving out of the 5 ranches. You know, these 5 ranches were given, each ranch was given a few hectares. One was given in the trust land, 1,500 hectares, another one 500, another one 200 hectares, but they ballooned them. So we are saying the top part where we really need to conserve. That is the area that is under contest. We want to talk as leadership and to tell people this, up to this point, is a water catchment area.
Right.
We plant, whether we choose to plant bamboo so that they can regenerate, whether we choose to plant trees, then they grow naturally over a long time. Of course, bamboo will grow faster because it is grass and cover the canopy. But the idea of mass eviction is what we are against, because it will affect even the people who are not in the catchment areas. And we are saying we need to profile these people before they move out of their farms, so that in case, of course, of the compensation that we are asking that they be given, you will not go and look for them in the camps where they have gone to. You will find them and give them the compensation. And the others remain uninterrupted in their farms.
And he brings in the aspect of, forceful eviction. And for the government to use forceful eviction, it means then people are not ready to move out. Because if you're ready to move out, the government cannot just come and forcefully evict you. So forceful eviction is because people have refused to move out. Which brings in the question, is there a way that instead of, the government forcefully evicting these people out of the land, out of these 5 ranches, the government can decide, let's have some sort of community environmental conservation by, you living here, but yet we are conserving the environment by probably planting trees and ensuring that we don't have logging?
Well, Brenda, that would take us to what has failed, which is called the Shamba system. We have to accept in conservation parlance that there are certain instances when it doesn't work. When you bring people and say, yeah, you can do some of your socio-economic activities, but on the other hand, you will conserve the environment. I think the Mau is such a sensitive ecosystem, and particularly as you move up the hills. So we have to just evaluate the situation and say, this is a case where we want to leave this environment in its pristine form, so that we take it away from human interference. And I think that is what is going to help, because in a situation where we have tried to combine this whole issue of some Shamba system, it didn't work. But there is a rider to it. As we do that, whatever we do in the name of eviction must follow the law. And there are standards of practice in conducting evictions. As we keep emphasizing, no one says you can't evict, but when you evict, please abide the law, abide the procedures, ensure that you protect these people. In addition, every person has a right to property, and the right to property is a fundamental right. So when you take away somebody's property of no less a value than actually something on which livelihood depends, the Constitution protects.
All right.
Under Article 43, social and economic rights of all Kenyans are protected. So we are saying people ought to move out of the Mau.
But
Yesterday.
in a good
Let
way.
it be done in a humane way. Let it be done according to law. Let it be done for the purpose for which it is intended.
All right. And as we bring this conversation to an end, Honorable Kosgei, I just want to hear from you. What is the way forward now? Should the government go ahead and forcefully evict people, not through the laid down procedure that, Mr. Ocheng has actually laid down for us over here? Are we looking at a situation whereby you might be running to the corridors of justice?
Yeah, first of all, let me just keep what I've kept saying. These people, the people who are affected, some of them are not refusing to move. They are just waiting for the Constitution and the law to be followed, as been said by my brother here. So before that process is followed, we are saying the government should suspend this phase 2 eviction and follow the routes given by the Constitution. Consultation with leaders, communities, government officials, and come up with a plan. Anything else outside that will be political and it will not yield anything. And when we want to achieve this thing, we must lower the competitive politics. Like yesterday, what Olekina is alluding to, that there were people who voluntarily moved out of. That's a lie. It was stage managed to appear like the members of the Maasai community are accepting to move out. Of course,
can you prove
it
that
is.
This was stage
You can
managed?
see your pictures. The faces shown in your pictures. These are Kenyans who are frowning. They don't know where to go. But those ones who were moving out yesterday were a very happy lot. They were like going for the market and coming back. Nobody leaves their land, happily, where you are going nowhere. So it was stage managed. The same way he stage managed the exercise of planting. Remember, he went to, he used some donors to get to.
I think I'll cut you short because the senator is not here to actually defend himself when it comes to the allegations that you're leveling against him. And that's why I'd asked you, what is the way forward in a minute as we wind up this conversation? What is the way forward?
The way forward, I'm asking the people of Mau to stay put, and the government and Tobacco to come down. We talk and we engage and we give this thing a lasting solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Hilary Kosgei, the Member of Parliament for Kipkelion, and Benson Ocheng, who's an environmental governance expert, talking to us about matters eviction of Mau. The same discussion that we're having here on a social media platform, whether you think the government should actually suspend the eviction exercise that is expected to kick off today, affecting about 60,000 families and 10,000 pupils. Conversation continues on our social media platform at KTN News, KE at Zeda Brenda, beginning with the hashtag KTN News Center. Now, away from that, an embattled businessman, that is Humphrey Kariuki, will this morning be appearing before the Milimani courts for the mention of his case. The businessman is facing tax evasion allegations. All right, as we try and get, give you that live feed when it comes to that court case that will be happening this morning when it comes to tax evasion. And also as they continue reminding you about our Twitter poll this morning, should the government suspend the planned Mau evictions? Should the government suspend the planned Mau eviction? At KTN News, KE at Zeda Brenda, beginning with the hashtag KTN News Center. Let's continue having that conversation. So much of your feedback I'll sample to when we come back as we continue with KTN News Center during the second hour. It is exactly 10 a.m., 11 a.m., of course, this morning here on KTN News Center. Allow me to take a short break, but when we come back, we still have a lot lined up for you, including that live coverage of what's happening at the Mau Forest once and when we get that live feed from my colleague Alan Ochanda, who's actually made his way to the Mau Forest.